Thank you, Chair.
Thanks very much. Good morning, everybody. It's Thursday, the 2nd of July, 2026. This is a licensing subcommittee meeting of the Royal Borough of Kensington and Chelsea, convened to determine the application for variation from the Ladbroke Hall of 79 Balby Road in W10. My name's Greg Hammond. I'm the chair of the committee today. I'm familiar with the location but have no interest to declare. And I've got two colleagues with me on the committee, starting to my right.
Very good. Councillor Preeti Hutt.
Councillor Jack Reason. I'm also familiar with the area, but I have no interest to declare.
Thanks very much indeed. So we three are the decision makers in the case, and we're assisted by other people in the room. Turning to my left, legal officer.
I'm Miss Rowland, legal advisor.
Thanks very much. And we have the licensing department represented by...
Good morning all, Paul Phelan from the licensing team.
Thanks very much. And we have our governance team down to my far left there.
My name's Daniela, and next to me is my colleague Nima.
Thanks very much indeed. And I think, counsel for the applicant, would you like to introduce yourself and your party, please?
Certainly. Good morning, Chair. My name's Saban Ekshbandi. To my very left is Mr. O'Mayline, solicitor, Mr. Le Galliard, who's the co-founder, and Mr. Zarins, who is the DPS.
Thanks very much indeed. Welcome to all of you. We have no responsible authorities, and we were expecting at least one objector to be present, but they're not, so we will proceed. So the ground rules: when you get your speaking part, as you've done there, please do switch the microphone on and off. I think it allows a maximum of 3 to be on at any one time. Might be 4. The red light's on when it's on. Please speak slowly and clearly, everybody. We are taking notes, so if we're looking down, it's not being because we're being rude. It's just so we can remember what we've got a record of what's going on. We are recording, as you've heard, and broadcasting live. The committee's read a number of documents or a number of exhibits ahead of the hearing, so I'll just go through those so we're all on the same page. So we've had the main bundle from licensing, which was 90 pages. We call that Exhibit 1. We've had an additional evidence bundle from the applicant of 112 pages, which I'll call Exhibit 2. We then had a further additional evidence bundle, which was an email trail chain with noise and nuisance of 7 pages, which I'll call Exhibit 3. And then we had a video adduced by the objectors, which we've all watched. It was 1 minute 17 seconds. I'll call that Exhibit 4. I didn't see a date or time stamp on it, but I understand it's connected with the Halloween party last year.
That's correct,
Okay,
Chair.
thanks very much indeed. So we've read everything in there. We don't need to have everything read out to us, but please draw our attention to anything that we need to particularly look at. So I know you'll be familiar with the procedures, but I'll ask the licensing officer to outline the case. Then we'll go to the applicant's case and questions from the committee. There obviously won't be anybody else asking questions. And then once we've been through that, we'll go through the potential conditions, which I'll ask the legal officer to do. And we'll do that without prejudice to our final decision, but it's a matter of convenience to go through the potential conditions at this stage of the hearing. Once we've done that, we won't have a summing up, and we'll retire to make our decision, and we'll announce the decision in written form within 5 working days as the initial decision. So that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to ask the licensing officer, Mr. Phelan, to please outline the decision before us.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning all. This application for a variation relates to Ladbroke Hall, 79 Balby Road, London, W10 6AZ. The premises currently benefits from a premises licence authorising the sale of alcohol for consumption both on and off the premises, the performance of plays, the exhibition of films, the performance of live music, the playing of recorded music, the performance of dance and entertainment similar to music or dance with late night refreshment, which are all indoors, Chair. Following discussions with the Council's Noise and Nuisance Service, the original application has been amended and now seeks all licensable activities until 1:30 a.m. Monday to Sunday, and for the premises to remain open until 2 a.m. daily. The application also seeks the removal of condition 17 and includes 3 additional conditions agreed with the Council's Noise and Nuisance Service, including a dispersal and external management plan, a restriction on third-party promoted events, and a 12-month time-limited aspect to this variation, Chair. The licensing authority has received 5 representations from local residents objecting to the application. The representations raise concerns relating to the prevention of crime and disorder, public safety, the prevention of public nuisance, and the protection of children from harm. At the time of the report being produced, 6 complaints had been received in relation to the premises during the preceding 24-month period. Members' attention is also drawn to the fact that the premises has been the subject of 12 temporary event notices and 35 non-standard times, details of which are contained within the report, Chair. The Council's Noise and Nuisance Service did withdraw their representation following the agreement of the amended application and additional conditions. The Planning Service has not made a formal representation. However, members' attention is drawn to the Planning Officer's comments contained within Appendix F, which advise that the premises is subject to an ongoing planning enforcement matter and that the application to vary the relevant planning condition remains under consideration. Since the publication of the agenda, additional documents have been circulated, to which you kindly alluded to in your opening remarks, Chair. Essentially, Chair, that's the matters before the committee today. I'll leave it there for now. Thank you for your time.
Thanks very much, Mr. Phelan. So we're into the case for the applicant then. Ms. Baksandy, please go ahead.
Thank you very much,
You've
Chair.
got 10 minutes, but I won't, because there's only you, I'm not going to be completely rigid.
Well, I'm grateful, Chair, for that latitude. Chair, I've already introduced those with me, and of course it goes without saying that both Mr. Legayard and Mr. Zarins are here to answer any questions that you and your colleagues may have. The committee will have seen the pack at pages, from the applicant at pages 16 to 95. I wasn't proposing to take you to those documents because I know you will have read those with care. Those documents describe both in words and photos the transformation of this historic, beautiful building into a vibrant, important arts, cultural and community centre. It will be apparent from those documents and from Mr. Zarin's statement the considerate and careful way in which life has been breathed back into Ladbroke Hall. This is very much not just a nighttime venue. Its unique and versatile spaces play host to art exhibitions, photo shoots, screenings, talks, launches, podcast recordings, private dinners and openings, to jazz, to a neighbourhood award-winning Italian restaurant, community support through subsidised and free events, in partnership with other local charities such as Grenfell Athletic, Dalgarno Trust, Earth Percent, TEDx, Rhythm Studio. Studio space is provided weekly for art classes and free rehearsal spaces, to providing education and work experience pathways to young people in the area. Being a community space is the heart of Ladbroke Grove and is intrinsic part of a vision of its founders. It is what makes Sunbeam Project, the charity which operates Ladbroke Hall, truly unique, and one of the only arts charities in London with a permanent home, and thus the ability to offer a space and a platform to other charities and emerging artists, without which their voice could not be heard. Since opening, the venue has offered over 350 events, keeping tickets affordable so that as many people as possible can participate. It has very much over the last three and a half years sought to embed itself, making a positive contribution in the local community in which it lives, with a duty to uphold the venue as a central gathering space, a magnetic cultural event and a catalyst to local economy. It employs approximately 60 permanent staff. I wanted just to turn very briefly, if I may, to Mr. Legayard, the co-founder, for his explanation briefly of the vision and importance of Ladbroke Hall to the arts and the local community, as well as his engagement with the community both pre-opening and since.
Good morning. I think I need to give you a little bit of background. I'm an art dealer. I was operating in Mayfair, And 6 years ago, I got to visit Ladbroke Hall, and I totally fell in love with the building, and I thought that I would move my operation from Mayfair, which is the center of sort of dealings for art, to Ladbroke Hall. And when I came across the building, I thought, okay, we're going to do way more than showing art and selling art. I want to be able to use the space to have an impact with the community. And then we started opening, we said we're going to open a restaurant so because it can become a destination for people really wanting to come and experience the art that we're showing. And then we had, it became obvious that more than a place where we sell fine art, we should use the space to have an engagement for the community and have a place where we can celebrate any form of artistic expression. And then I thought that was the time to open our charity, because I wanted this charity to be able to be a vehicle where any form of artistic expression could be expressed, where we could invite some emerging artists, some matured artists, but most importantly, make sure that this culture would be free or extremely affordable, and making sure that in this area, culture would just not be for middle-aged, white, privileged people. And that's what we've been doing. So it's this fantastic space now where there's food, there's culture, there's dance, there's poetry reading. I also give a voice to different artistic expression which don't necessarily have a voice, like contemporary dance to young fashion designers wanting to show their work and their pieces. So it has become this beautiful ecosystem where everybody's welcome. And if I try to describe it in 3 words, we want creative people, we want smart people, and kind people. And kindness and generosity is very much at the center of the project. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Le Galliard. And so whilst the current licence has worked well to enable the venue to offer the event spaces which enables it to economically sustain the Grade 2 listed building and continue to offer the sort of community events at the subsidised or free cost as described, it has needed to utilise almost all of its available temporary event notices, and you can see from the agenda, page 51, and its non-standard timings to do so. And that's essentially the driver for this application. The private hire business, in short, subsidises the significant community arts events and free or subsidised hire Ladbroke Hall under the stewardship of the Sunbeam Project. The charity is able to offer. And so as you've heard, there's 6 essential parts of the application: the extension of the licensing activities now until 1:30 a.m, opening hours until 2, the seasonal variation, the addition, we say, of key conditions to support the premises operation and licensing objectives, and we've had an opportunity to review your legal advisors' suggested additional conditions and also observations, which we can come back to at the appropriate time. The removal of condition 17, which would restricted there to be a maximum of 40 occasions when there would be additional hour. And crucially, and you may think a little unusually, the agreement to a 12-month limited license, a period of time to demonstrate to the committee and to those neighbours who raise concerns that the venue can operate successfully in upholding the licensing objectives. You will have noted that there were in fact no police objections to the original application, which sought hours until 3 a.m. The police in fact visited last month, the licensing officer, and no concerns were raised. And following constructive discussion and amendment, now there are no noise and nuisance objections. Or put another way, the responsible authorities' opinion collectively for those authorities is that the grant of the application as now requested will uphold the licensing objectives. The team operating on the ground is led by Mr. Zarins. You will have seen from his statement that he's hugely experienced in operating successfully in harmony with local residents in this borough and in Westminster for Soho House. Can I just turn, please, Chair, if I may, to concerns that have been raised, and you will see that much of those, and I don't say all, but I do say much, focus on the event at Halloween of 2025, so some 8 months ago. And this is addressed in Mr. Zarin's statement at page 11, paragraph 27. And at the outset, there you will see is an apology for the impact of residents over that period of time. These were events which were...
We're not going to have interruptions from the floor. As you weren't here at the beginning, the licensing committee follows procedures set down by the court, and that's the procedure we'll follow. So the applicant makes their case. I will give you a chance to introduce yourself later. You'll get the chance to make your case, but I will not have interruptions. Please do carry on, Ms. Naqshbandi.
Thank you very much, Chair. As I was saying, these events were organised by a third-party promoter, which the venue candidly accepts was a mistake, and it's learned from those events and taken on board both the advice of the noise team following the event and from Mr. Lewis, whose report you have in the applicant's documents at pages 96 to 105. As a result, there were a number of changes, and you can see that there have been no further complaints to the noise team since that time, so approximately 8 months, during which time there have been 4 events until 3 a.m., 5 events until 2 a.m., 19 events until midnight, alongside multiple events within the current premises licensing hours. I'm not going to read through or rehearse Mr. Lewis's report. You will see that his experience speaks for itself. He was there on the 2nd of November from midnight until 3:54 a.m. He noted, importantly, that Ladbroke Hall sits within roads Barlby and St Mark's, which even in those late night hours is busy with frequent traffic unconnected to the venue. He described it at paragraph 47, page 103, as surprisingly busy. He identified the positive approach to the venue management. Staff were attentive, polite, inside and out. Turning to the issues he had identified if I may say so, the responsible way in which the operators responded to that. Smoking area at that time was in Roots Drive. He noted that any one time there was somewhere between 9 to 30 people outside. That's been since addressed in the operation management plan in the applicant's documents at page 106, the 4th bullet point. Now, the changes have been, there is the area in front of the premises, which is an enclosed front area. There is a small photo at page 17 of the applicant's bundle. We brought a larger photograph along if the committee want to see that. But certainly there's photographs in there. And what's proposed is that smokers are limited to 10. So enclosed area away from Roots Drive, which the committee, I know some of you at least are familiar with it, is opposite Claremont House. Second concern that he identified was bass music, was heard coming from the fire door at Roots Drive, and that he identified as the worst of it. 2 things, he noted the door nearest Barlby Road was frequently open, and there was breakout from the theatre. So that is addressed in conditions 19, 20, 21. But to say this, that door on Roots Drive now is not used at all. So it's the front main door that is used. So I'll pause comments being made. I'm just conscious that there is some commentary being made. Thank you, sir. Third, the concern was in relation, he in fact identified that there was no mass exodus during the course of this event. And you will have seen the video that was taken by one of the residents on that evening, which we're all familiar with. Notably, this was the biggest event that the premises had operated, in fact. And you'll have seen Mr. Lewis's comment, paragraph 2, page 104, his observation. He described the clientele as, quote, as good as you could hope for, as indicated the types of people who come to Ladbroke Hall. So no rowdy behaviour, no serious intoxication. He did see guests waiting outside for cars pulling up, and you will, of course, all seen the videos. There is an operational management plan that's proposed and a CAB plan that's been in place and now has been revised and updated since the application. Can I just take you to that, please? So the operation management plan is at the applicant's bundle at page 106 it begins. And this dovetails with the proposed conditions also. And you'll see there under under section 4, noise and acoustic control. So after 2200 hours, all music, both live and recorded, generated through a sound limiter and shall not be overridden or interfered. And just pausing there, the additional part that's been added by or suggested by your legal advisor in terms of the people that are restricted in terms of operating or amending that, we're content with that. There are double or acoustic lobby doors. So the doors to the main entrance on Barlby Road that lead into Pollini, if you see the photographs, you've got essentially those beautiful wooden doors. Within those, there are then lobby doors inside in any event. The door that's on Roots Drive, which is now no longer used, it in fact does have a closing device in any event, but it's not operationally used. So all people traffic, as it were, is directed through the main doors, which makes it much easier to manage and prevents the congregation of people.
You are just coming up to 15 minutes, by the way, which includes an allowance for my interruption.
I'm getting there, if I may, thank you. And so just in relation to those, then dispersal, again, you'll have seen the conditions proposed, but within the cab management policy, you'll see there that patrons are encouraged to stay within the restaurant, Pollini, so that's inside the double acoustic doors, call for taxis and then taken out or ushered out, etc. It's a comfortably large area. You'll see there, again, conditions such as doors and windows closed during live and recorded music, etc. So, Chair, I'm conscious that the committee will have read through those, but I just wanted to highlight those points, particularly in consequence of addressing the concerns that are raised. I'm content to leave it there, as it were, say for a few final observations, if I may, and then subject to questions the committee have or discussion over the conditions, we can address those. But may I just say this, and it'll take me, I hope, no more than 30 seconds. Your council and your policy recognise the importance of a vibrant atmosphere and plethora of activities available, close proximity to residential areas, and embrace the ideas the residents can enjoy options nearby. And Chair, I say this in no disrespect to the residents who raise concerns, but what Ladbroke Hall provides is enormous, significant contribution and a space for many members of the local community who do use the venue on a very regular basis and enjoy using that venue. And that is a key part of the Sunbeam project, to provide for the community within which it lives, both being good neighbours, but also in the spaces and events it offers. We note the balance sought in your policy at paragraph 10, and we believe that based on the last 10 months of trading, that the application it makes today for a 12-month limited licence and extension of hours, with the addition of important conditions, is one for which the exception on merit can and should be made, and the premises will operate and have shown that they've been operating over the last 12 months, with the licensing objectives being upheld, particularly the prevention of public nuisance. And that is a view that's shared by the noise team and the police in terms of withdrawal and no objections. And so, Chair, it's for those reasons that we invite the committee to grant the application in its entirety. And as I say, we're content to discuss any questions or concerns that you or the committee may have.
Thank you very much indeed. We will do some questions from the committee now, Ms Naqshbandi. So I'm going to start to my right with Councillor Hudd, and then we'll go to Councillor Reason, and I'll sweep up.
Thank you, Mr. Naqshbandi, for that, and to Mr. Gaya. It's very obvious that part, Ladbroke Hall, has been become a very valued asset to the local community, and it's commendable to you all for doing so, and obviously very beneficial to the local community. And you are trying to make all the efforts to make it less intrusive and more socially acceptable by the local residents. I have two questions. First, you can have 40 tens plus the non-standard times that you can operate on. So why the requirement of having your hours extended on a permanent basis? That's my first question. The second question I also have is one of the objectors has said, and I think maybe it was echoed by another one, your dispersal policy, I must say to date, from what I've read, your dispersal policy was not what I would have expected, especially when buses have to overtake double-parked Ubers, I'm assuming. And that was very worrying because I do know the location very well. And it is a residential area. So those were my two main questions.
Can I answer them to start with, and then I'll turn to Mr. Zarins and Mr. Le Galliard to add from a lived experience perspective, if I may.
Sure.
So in terms of the need, and as we all know, need's not a requirement, but they have been operating tens and the additional hour. And the experience over the last 3.5 years has been, and it's been a gradual process in terms of seeing what the venue needs and offers, has not been sufficient. So the experience has been that in order to essentially offset providing what they want to provide to the community and the spaces, a lot of not just the daytime operation, but evening operation as well. So theatre space is offered for free so that plays can be put on a subsidised, affordable basis. That even operating using the tens, I think almost exclusively they've been used, it's not sufficient, and there has to be that reality and commercial reality to keep subsidising and offering. Some being charity want to do that. They need to increase the offering and attract to this venue in West London people who want to use it for events and event space. So that's the first point, and if there's anything to add, the gentleman to my left and right will do so. The second point in relation to the dispersal policy, so it's accepted by everyone that what happened at Halloween shouldn't have happened. And in many ways, the reason that event was chosen for Mr. Lewis, who's got years and years of experience as a police licensing officer in this area, in this borough, was because it was anticipated that would be one of the busiest events. So to an extent, it was to see how this would manage. And it's accepted that this was not, having a third-party promoted event for that kind of event didn't work and hasn't happened since. And learning from that event, and it's been a really good 8-month learning experience. I think there were 2 points that we'd make. That there's been very active discussion straight after the event with the noise team, taking on board that, and since the application. So the measures that have been put in place are working, and the committee can have assurances it's working because there aren't complaints that you see being brought to the noise team, and there aren't complaints being brought to the management. And they're very open to having discussions. And there are discussions, and I know Mr. Le Galliard can speak to this, of his own active engagement with residential community organisations. Because if there's one thing I hope the committee can see from the nature of the application, and having heard particularly from Mr. Galliard, is that they are part of this community and they want to be part of the community. It's not an operation that is standing alone as a venue for, as described by Mr. Galliard, people who don't live in the neighbourhood. And so it's very much at the forefront of their minds in terms of how to do so. And finally this, you will have seen that a proposed condition is that there is a dispersal policy that essentially is approved before the premises can trade if the committee are minded to grant the application. I might be quiet at this moment and see if there's anything additional from a lived experience that Mr. Le Galliard first and then Mr. Zarins may wish to add to provide you with some assurance.
Thank you. I mean, basically, it's pretty common sense. The fact that the beauty about Ladbroke Hall is this extraordinary building, but it is also quite remote. And when people come to us for an event and decide after the event to stay for pasta or and stay a bit longer, I need there's an economic reality whereby if we can keep these people in the house a little bit longer, and if they are going to consume a little bit longer, it's going to allow me to make the project sustainable. 2 years ago, we run losses of about 1.5 million. Last year, we run losses of 600,000 pounds. In reality, I need to find some solution to make it viable, although otherwise all this investment that I made in renovating the business and keeping it alive is complicated. There's a lot of staff there, and you know what it is to run a restaurant and run this. But you need cooks, you need front of house people, you need cleaners, you need. I mean, it's kind of crazy. I kind of discovered this three years ago, and the harsh reality of running hospitality. So it is. We just need this little extra, which hopefully will help increase revenue by a few points, but everything counts. And in order for Ladbroke Hall and this beautiful ecosystem that we put together, we need to find some ways of increasing revenue.
Thank you, Mr. Gaia, and thank you, Ms. Nexbandi. Mr. Gaia, so just to confirm, the main purpose of this is more the economic viability of your business model.
This is correct. This is correct. And unfortunately, because when you leave the building and people want to go for a drink or there's nothing around, and I think we can offer everything within the premises. But people coming to us are mainly people with an appetite for a cultural appetite. So we're not a party place. We're a cultural place where just people want to enjoy a nice, peaceful meal and stay for hopefully an extra sort of few hours and enjoy a glass of wine. And this is really what we're talking about.
I think, sorry, Madam, may I just add this? I think that's one part of it, obviously, but the second part is also being a venue that attracts people to want to hold their events. And the reality is people want to, if they're having an event, whether it's an opening or some kind of evening launch, closing at the time that's suggested currently on the licence is restrictive, particularly when the emphasis is to bring people to what for some people may be a bit of a remote location. It's not a central London location, but to bring people in. Because for those of us who've visited Ladbroke, and for those of us who live in the area and known this building for a long time, when you visit it now, it's beautiful. And you come into the space, you want to have your event there. It is different, but you've got to get people there, and you've got to offer them a bit more. And so, yes, there is a frank commercial reality here to sustain a building such as this. It's a Grade 2 listed building, and to subsidise and allow the generosity of the charity to community events.
Thank you. And your point about the comms, I mean, how frequently do you communicate with your local residents? Is there anything published on your door that says, that they can contact you whenever they wish? I did not see anything about the comms.
No, we are very involved with the community. So the first thing that I did, I give you an example, and just to give you the spirit, you probably know the Dalgano Trust next to us. First thing, I went to introduce myself and say, okay, I'm your new neighbor, so what do you need? And they say, okay, what we need in order is we have the 600 kids, they have too much energy, we found a way through boxing, that's how we say, okay, what can I do? So we did a fundraising, I invited some artists, we sold some photography, and I'm so proud, and I can share some images. We financed a boxing ring, some boxing gloves, some equipment for all these kids, and the fun thing is say, well, these kids, they have fights as well. And I say, okay, well, I'm going to get my design team to design the T-shirt so you can have the logo, the Dalgano Trust, and all these kids came up with this, so proud. And this is just an example of what we do. And if you speak to some charity around us, the Grenfell football team, they came to us the other day and say, okay, well, could we do our yearly gala for the Grenfell football team? And I say, of course. And I want this grand place is for everybody, and believe me, those people from the community, when they come in, they're so proud and grateful about the renovation that I did in the building, about the fact that there's so much greatness and cultural greatness. It's I generally think that people around are proud to have now Ladbroke Hall in its full glory, and I didn't only give love to the product, I gave it passion, and I think all the neighbors can feel it.
Thank you, Chair.
Thanks. Councillor Reason.
Yes, thank you very much for summarising all of the issues for us. I do recognise the fantastic contribution that Ladbroke Hall makes to the community, and I thank you for that, and I know the residents do too. And I understand the pressures that are facing your business that are encouraging you to seek the extension of hours for your licensable activities. I think, there has been much focus on the benefit to the community and, the wide range of events that you have hosted at Ladbroke Hall that are community focused. But my concern is that the application is seeking to extend the licensable hours for a very wide range of activities. And it's not clear to me which of those activities will be, most prominent with this extended license. I mean, I don't think you need a license until 1:30 a.m. to have a play or to show a film, for instance. So I would appreciate clarity on, what you're really intending to use this license for. My second question is...
We'll just have the answer to that.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Let's have the answer to that and we'll see where it takes us.
Thank you, Chair. Of course, the play doesn't need to be on necessarily till 1:30 in the morning, and there are a variety of different events, which is one of the reasons. Before I answer that question, I'll ask Mr. Le Galliard and Mr. Zarins to also assist with it, is that in order, we're not seeking a daily or every weekend Ladbroke Hall turning into a nightclub, for example. And I can understand that may be a concern of the committee and the residents. We had discussed with the noise team a condition about no third-party promoted events, and I know your Learned Legal Advisors raised some concerns. We've had a think about how to, as it were, address any concerns that this might be that kind of event. And that's not the intention. I'm sort of answering it the other way round, as it were, as to what it's not intended to be for. Because it's a beautiful space that is done in a way that it's not the sort of kind of party place that is proposed. And so on the condition, can I just mention this, if that may give some comfort as a proposal? And we have, we've borrowed this from the City of London, model conditions, is promoted events will not be held at the premises. A promoted event is an event where the musical entertainment is provided at any time by a disc jockey or disc jockeys, one or some of whom are not employees of the licence holders, and the event is promoted to the general public independent of the licence holder. So that would essentially, in our submission, prevent somebody coming in promoting an event and avoid the sort of Halloween type event that really has caused a lot of understandable concern to the residents, and something that the applicant doesn't ever want to happen again. So yes, it's not to facilitate plays or necessarily even an art exhibition opening until 1:30 in the morning, but there will be events that the premises can be used for corporate events or gala dinners, for example, which do go on beyond 11:30, and people have an expectation, if they're paying a certain amount of money, if you're coming to a fundraising event and you pay a significant amount of money, you have an expectation that you're going to have a full evening that doesn't start winding down, forgive me, at about 11:30, when, if any of us have been to those awards events, for example, by the time the speeches have happened and dinner, it can be easily 11:30, and people want to go on and socialise and enjoy the rest of the evening. So it's those sorts of events, and it's those sorts of events that actually bring in good revenue, that allow the trade-off for the subsidised charitable events. Is that a fair summary, do you think, Mr. Le Galliard?
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what it is. I'll give you an example. Yesterday we had a fashion brand who rented the space for some time. And this private hire business is the only way for me to be able to offset the losses of the F&B or I mean, the live music is costing money. The F&B, it's a miracle if you balance the numbers. And so the only way to balance the books, or aim to balance the book, is through private hire and renting the space. So yeah, that's the reason. Yeah.
Thank you for clarifying what you intend to use the license for. I note that you made reference several times to the Halloween party, which was indeed the subject of most of the complaints relating to this premises. And I understand that you have included a condition to exclude the promotion of third-party events at the venue. I think I still do have concerns what those type of events will be. I mean, you alluded to, corporate events, galas, etc. But I think I do think the condition 25 is very vaguely phrased. Party-focused audiences outside the scope of Ladbroke Hall's arts programming mission. And I would like to seek further clarity as to what you mean by that. In addition to large-scale production companies, how do you intend to address the legal advisor's concerns that the conditions you proposed are vague and likely to result in uncertainty?
So apologies if I wasn't clear in my answer a minute ago. So that was the condition that was discussed and agreed with the EHO, which you'll have seen in the additional documents. We've entirely taken on board the concerns that have been raised by Ms. Rowland. And that's why we've suggested, having seen those observations yesterday, that the condition that's used by City of London in relation to promoted events, which we're happy to email across if that's easier to see, but I can read it out again, is one that is clear And I entirely understand. I think the discussion with the EHO was in order to exclude the sorts of events that you're talking about, Councillor Reason, and the Halloween type events, and try and find the right wording, which also still permits, for example, a local organisation who are putting a play on, and they are promoting the play locally, as is the venue. So if you had no third-party promotions at all, that would prohibit those sorts of events, and that's not really, or art classes that are provided for free that are promoted by a third party, which I anticipate is not the committee's concern. So I think that discussion with the EHO was trying to find those words, and they're not, I'm going to say this, no disrespect to the drafters, it wasn't me, but it wasn't an elegant way, but you can, I hope, see the sense of what was trying to be achieved. So the model condition of City of London that we suggest is something for consideration of this committee is promoted events will not be held at the premises, full stop. A promoted event is an event where the musical entertainment is provided at any time by a disc jockey or disc jockeys, one or some of whom are not employees of the licence holder. So pausing there, that's often one of the issues and concerns with nightclubs in particular, or vertical drinks, if you have these sort of external DJs promoting, and the event is promoted to the licensing, to the general public, independent of the licence holder. So that would still allow, for example, there being an event. So let's take a gala charity dinner for Grenfell Athletic. That would be one where the disc jockey, that would be permitted because it wouldn't be their it wouldn't be the disc DJ from the promoter, as it were, employed by the promoter or put forward by the promoter. And the event would be promoted by the venue as well as the charity. I'm just trying to give an example of what the condition is trying to achieve and not exclude, because certainly we wouldn't want to turn away charities that the venue's trying to support by there being a very tight condition on no third-party promoted events. Does that help explain, and I hope address concerns on clarity?
It was a helpful explanation, yes. I think my concern is not so much, who is promoting the event, but the content of the event. I mean, I don't think it would prevent you from hosting a club night, for instance. And also, I think, you made reference to gala dinners and things like that. I mean, those can be equally as rowdy sometimes. I mean, I think this is a very residential area, and I think any event that's going on that late and where we have a license granted to allow that on a regular basis would be very disruptive to the residents living by Ladbroke Hall. There's terrace housing directly opposite the premises. I think there's in your in the sorry, I'm trying to find the. You made reference earlier to the acoustic doors that are on the building, for instance, and the idea of noise not escaping from the building. I think reading the objectors' complaints, it seems like the focus of those complaints is not so much the noise from those events, but the dispersal. And I think that, that whatever conditions are in place regarding dispersal, it would still prove, very disruptive in an area like this. And you yourself recognise that Ladbroke Hall is situated in a rather remote area. So I'm just curious why you think it's suitable for an area like this.
So I think I think one has to look at the way in which the venue is operating, but also look at the operational way in which the venue operates and the conditions that support that operation as a whole, rather than just looking at the promoted event. So in terms of the policies that we've set out are reflected in essentially the daily way the operation manages. And we haven't talked much about Mr. Zarins, and I apologise that he's been very quiet, that's my fault. But he is there every day, and he is someone who came in, you know, he was there during Halloween, and we all accept that was a mistake, but has worked really hard using his own experience, working in very highly residential areas, operating premises where they have events, late night, etc., in this borough and in Westminster. And has continued to be very alert and alive. And I'm just going to ask him what his lived experience is in terms of how dispersal is managed. And there was a point that I think I probably didn't fully answer from an earlier question in relation to communications. There are communications with residential organisations, not just about helping the community, but just, is there anything going on that you need to know? There is an open door. You know, this is essentially the first time we're seeing these particular residents who have concerns. Very happy to bring people in. Now we know who they are, and as a committee will appreciate, often unless people come or those names are passed on or the areas or meetings facilitated, there isn't that opportunity to hear these particular, I think there's 5 residents in that locality who've raised concerns of what their particular concerns are. But as far as dispersal is managed, I am going to take to Mr. Zarins to understand what his experience is, but you'll see from the policies and the conditions that there are regular walkarounds the areas to ensure that disruption. The problem with smokers has been brought, you know, really 10 people in that small enclosed area now actively managed. There's security there on the nights where the bigger events might take place, where you'd have the more people, which lead to more dispersal. And the reality is, you don't have 100 or 200 people going out at the same time. There is a gradual dispersal, but now there's an active management of people, keeping them within the premises. So what you see at Halloween, my understanding is a lived experience is that is not what you will see on a regular basis. And it's not what the premises want. It doesn't help them in terms of management either. But can I just pass to Mr. Zarins to give you a sort of a first-hand experience of that, if that would assist you, sir?
Chair, are you okay to allow
We'll
Mr.
just,
Zarins?
yes, we'll listen to Mr. Zarins. Thank you.
Good morning. So, talking about the way how I'm managing a building, every time when we setting up event, we going through the certain procedures with all the event management. We're going through the certain procedures with all the employees before the event starts. Also, on every meeting we have with the events. with the people who actually coming and doing event with us, yeah, we actually telling them exactly what conditions are we working on, and what conditions need to be applied while an event is happening. So all this gets summarized together, and that, obviously we have lots of training done after the Halloween party, particularly for all our employees and management team. Every time when we have meetings about the future events, I'm on a meeting every time, and I'm managing also the security, which is looking after the, for example, garden, which is after 9:30. There is no access in the garden after 9:30, where we have residents behind the garden fence. I have every time when we have event, I have 4 or 5 residents on the garden side by the building, and I'm contacting them and asking them how did it feel last night, and if there was any interruptions or something was interrupted your experience, night experience. And so far I haven't received any negative feedback from those residents. I get introduced with those residents when I was repairing the gardens for them. So we had we had while Ladbroke Hall was built, there was a little interruption in their gardens, which we had to take 1 meter away from their garden, and then we had to repair it back. So that's how I got introduced with those residents, and I have a very good relationship with those residents, and these residents actually helping me to understand how we operating, and then giving their feedback every time. They have my number. Every time when they have something to feed me back, they're feeding me back straight away. If it's something happens anytime, and I'm coming and visiting them and talking to them about everything what happens. But since Halloween party, so I've been very strictly contacting them every time when we have events, and I thought maybe this is going to be good channeling with the residents who actually is the closest residents to us, and they will be able to tell us.
Just have a little pause there and see if the recording is still working. Yes. Are we? I mean, I want to see if we're still broadcasting. Okay, we'll just have a.
We are still broadcasting.
All right. Well, I think we'll carry on in the dark then. I don't think that's a problem because we can hear everybody.
We can still see you.
Yeah, and according discussions with the residents, we just trying to manage our building, and then we have some conditions in our building management plan when we're not taking bins out during the hours between 9 o'clock and 7 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the evening and 7 o'clock in the morning. Every person who ordering a cab, it waits inside the building until the cab arrives, and that person gets released out of the building, and then it gets into the cab. So we're not creating a buzz in front of the building, which creating additional noise. So our security usually is in the garden after 9:30, making sure there is no people escaping into the garden, which we all know sometimes happens. So we have also the security during the late times on the Barbie Road. So they're making sure nobody escaping through the fire exit on the Barbie Road, which will happen on Halloween. Yeah. So, and regarding the noise and music, we've been always keeping 80 to 85 dB inside the building, which is lower than.
Thank you very much. It seems like you are making an effort to engage with residents, and that's very welcome. So thank you. I don't have any further questions to ask this time.
Thanks very much indeed. So if my understanding of this, if the business is primarily private hire, are you proposing to use the license till 2 o'clock in the morning every day, or is it just when you happen to have business? I mean, if you're being successful, it might be 7 days a week, but maybe it's a lesser amount than that. So what happens on a day when you don't have business? What's your plan? Yes, of course. Take instructions if you need.
I think the way in which the business is proposed to forgive me, sir. I think the way in which it would be proposed the business operates and the venue operates is very much not just private hire, obviously. The intention is that restaurant is open longer as well. There are regular events that take place as well, for example, jazz, etc. And then there will be these sort of other events, if I can, I'm trying to categorize it in different ways, as it were. And I think what the premises would like is the flexibility, because sometimes, for example, it's not necessarily just on a Thursday, Friday or Saturday, for example, that they'd want to have private hire. Sometimes there is an attraction, as everyone in the industry knows, for large events to offer a Tuesday or a Wednesday night, because sometimes that can be a bit more commercially viable for people who want to host events. So yes, for the events, but also for the restaurant, because currently the restaurant is closing earlier, to allow people to stay a bit longer. May not be people stay till 1:30 in the morning, but there is that flexibility, which actually, in fact, makes it much more easier to manage, to have that level of flexibility across the board.
Okay.
I hope that assists in trying to answer your question,
Thank you very much. And just another subject, you've agreed to, with Noise and Nuisance, that you should do this for a 12-month trial. I mean, that's presumably a bit of a nuisance for you doing a trial, and you'd rather have a permanent arrangement.
I know Mr. Galliard's keen to respond to that. I think that was a suggestion from the EHO, and we understood that may be a way to demonstrate. But
I think, you know, I made a mistake when I allowed this Halloween party to happen. It was a big mistake. I regret. I thought it was something. We tried it. It was a mistake. I apologized, but there's been a fantastic learning curve to say, okay, what can we do, what we can't do, and in reality, this kind of party, this is not the spirit of the building. So we're not going to do these things. It's just the ability to, as we explained, from a commercial point of view, just say that there's the opportunity that private hire is possible during the week, and therefore I don't want it to be a deterrent for not be able to hire the place, because as I explained to you, we do need this business in to make the entire project sustainable in the long run.
Can I just perhaps complete that in the sense of that was something that was discussed with the EHO, but certainly if I'm happy to do that trial period, but certainly if the committee's view is that that wasn't necessary, then we'd be content not to have it. But it's something that was the discussion, and the thought process was this would give the premises an additional period of time. Bear in mind, there have been 8 months where there's been no complaints, certainly not to the noise team or to the venue. And you've heard that there is some active discussion with different pockets of the community who live around, and very happy to have those channels of communication with those sort of 4 or 5 residents who've brought their concerns to the committee today.
And I mean, obviously, that'll be a decision that we'll turn to later. But I think you wanted this rather complicated arrangement where so I'll speak a bit closer to the microphone. You wanted this slightly complicated arrangement where the 12-month trial, if we decide that, were to start at the point when you get planning permission. Now, what's going on with the planning, and as far as it relates to our licensing, what's the state of play with that?
I'm going to let Mr. O'Maylan answer that because he's dealing with planning.
Good morning, sir. Whilst I'm not directly dealing with it, it's actually Savills dealing with the planning application. But I can tell you this: an application has been submitted. There's a restriction on the planning limiting the hours that the premises may operate, and an application has been submitted by Savills, which is going through and is being considered by your planning department at the moment. If that application were granted, it would extend the hours to I understand, until 2 o'clock in the morning. So it would be similar to what this application seeks in terms of the license. But in terms of the environmental health officer, the suggestion of the 12 months was really tying in with the planning application itself, and the thought process was that if this were granted for 12 months, that would allow your officers then to look and to consider this, whether to make it permanent or not. I hope that assists.
Mr. O'Maylan, do you have a feel for where the planning application is in the process? Is it about to get determined, or is it, are we a long way from that, bearing in mind there's a big backlog in planning?
It's a bit difficult, but my understanding, for what it's worth, is that we're expecting a decision within a month or so.
Okay. All right, well, I won't...
I was going to say, Chair, I mean, the point that was trying to be made in relation to that proposed condition was to give the committee some assurance that if you were kindly minded to grant the application, you wouldn't trade it until the planning was granted.
Okay. All right. I think we get the point of what you're hoping to achieve there. I'll just see if there are any supplementaries. Yes, Councillor Hudd, please.
May I use yours? Sorry. Thank you, Chair. Mr. Gaia, how often are you at the premises?
Every day. I travel quite a bit. I have another business venture in France and in New York, but when I'm not traveling, I'm there every morning after school drop-off.
So on average, how many days would you say?
I'm 3 weeks. 3 weeks per month.
3 weeks a month?
Yes.
Right, okay, thank you.
And if it assists, I think Mr. Zarin, you're there how often? Every day.
Okay, Mr. Zarins, you are the only DPS?
There's only... do you mean
Yes, I am.
personal licence holder or DPS?
Sorry, I can't hear you.
Yeah, yes, I am. Yeah.
There's only one DPS.
Yeah,
but there's obviously, there can be other personal licence holders.
Sure, thank you. And Chair, finally, if I may, on the comms, I have to say I am not personally, I don't know about my colleagues, but I'm not actually I don't feel convinced that your comms is very good with the residents of what I appreciate it that you said you have an open door policy, but quite often, in my experience, residents slightly feel reluctant to approach, and if there's not enough signs displayed or more of a proactive communication on your behalf, which I don't feel that has come across, but that's an observation, because I think that would be very helpful if you were to improve your communications with the local residents.
Thank you, Madam. Taken on board. As you've heard, we've got, I think, to be fair, really good communication for certain pockets of residents, and now we are aware of the residents who've raised concerns. We're very happy to have quarterly or monthly meetings or whatever would work with residents and put that on the website so people can see. It's always that difficult situation of trying to identify who, or do it through residential organisations. But certainly we can offer a quarterly meeting, put it on the website and invite people in. But can I just make this offer that if there are any particular residents who have concerns, and I take your point, people don't always want to just come into a venue, and I understand that, that if they were to either email into the venue and say, this is us, this is who I am, can we have a conversation, then as you've already heard, Mr. Zarins has those really great communications with the residents he knows.
Thank you, Chair.
Thanks very much indeed. I've got a question, or possibly something for Mr. Phelan to research from the licensing department. I just want to know what your understanding of the state of play of the planning permission is, please. And maybe you'll need to research that.
I will need a bit of time if that's okay with you, Chair, but I will let you know once I've got that information.
You can do that in the background while we carry on.
I will try to get that information for you in the background. Absolutely, Chair.
If you do need an adjournment for it, I'll happily grant it, but I'll leave you working away in the background.
Thank you very much for that, Chair. Appreciate it.
So can I just ask specifically what it is, because we may also be able to provide you with further information.
I want licensing department's understanding of where we're at with planning.
I see. They may be better placed to find that answer.
They might well be. So because I appreciate that Savills are doing the job. So if
grateful.
our officers have a conversation, then maybe that will clarify.
We're grateful. Thank you.
Thanks very much indeed. Ms Rowland, do you have any questions for the applicants?
Not other than on the conditions. So
No, well, we'll go through the conditions later on without prejudice. I'm going to turn to our objector, because our objector, who will introduce himself in a moment, wasn't here for the beginning of the case for the applicant and wasn't here for the whole case. I'm not going to have cross-examination, and that will work both ways, just in interests of fairness. Well, you weren't here, so in fairness, as you didn't hear the whole case for the applicant, I'm not going to allow cross-examination. But we have had a very thorough committee question, but you won't get cross-examined either. So I'm now going to turn to you, sir, for your case. And is it Mr. O'Sullivan? Fantastic. So would you like to put your microphone on? There we go. You've got your red light on. Now, I allowed because at the time we didn't have an objector here, I was quite lax in my timing with the applicant. I allowed them 17 minutes and 45 seconds to make their application, their case. So you have 17 minutes and 45 seconds. If you need it, you don't have to use all of it, but you have up to 17 minutes and 45 to address us and make your case to us.
Right. Basically, I'm probably the main person who's been documenting this whole scenario over the last 3 years. It started from when the construction started. You've had zero regard for the residents. You still do. Everything you've just said is a lie. I've been into your property to speak to you several times. You're never there. I've got photographic evidence of everything because it's documented. I'm on speed dial to Argon Hadri from the Noise and Nuisance team. Where there's lack of communication somewhere between it all. I was the one who filmed Halloween. That was on a Sunday night. It didn't finish till gone 4 in the morning. Leading me to have a day off of work. I'm self-employed, so it cost me money. You mentioned Grenfell, which really, please don't, because I guarantee none of you know anyone from Grenfell. Am I correct in saying so? So you've used Grenfell as a buzzword.
Mr. O'Sullivan, could you address to the committee
as a buzzword, and it's not fair, you shouldn't do that. It's a classic case of not knowing the area. You've got a Michelin-starred chef in one of the poorest wards of London. They're turning up in Bentleys, Ferraris, double parking, outside regardless, not a care of anyone. I don't know one single person that has used that venue. It's had no benefit to the local community whatsoever. Zero. Every single pavement outside the building is smashed from their deliveries. It's a listed building. Your lorry's driven into the pillar, damaging it, so it's literally going to fall. I've complained to Kensington and Chelsea about this. I witnessed it. A year later, it's not being rectified. It's not just the clients that go there and make the noise, it's the staff. They're the ones smoking outside as well. The loading situation, because there's no loading hours, they can do what they want, when they want. So you have all these lorries turning up, throwing flight cases in and out all day long and night, blocking up the pavement. It's just one thing after another. It really is. I'm not like a killjoy, but you just show blatant disregard for the local residents on every single occasion.
Anything else you want to add in?
Well, it's just, I honestly don't know where to begin, because I've literally had to ring up Argon Hadri. I've lost count of the amount of times. And they go round there, they have a quick word, 5 minutes later, the volume gets ramped back up again, like it never happened. Okay. And the fact that they've broken their licensing agreements pretty much every single week since they've had it, and then they've got the audacity to turn around and say, you want to extend a licence? Like, that is like the biggest slap in the face for the residents ever. It just shows you have complete disregard. And the fact that I've been to that property several times, I don't know who any of these people are. He's there every day. I've never seen him. I've gone there. Can I speak to the manager? Can I speak to the owner? Never there. Never there. You're lucky if there's a duty manager there. So they've sat here and lied through their teeth, which I don't know why. Because you can pop in there, do a random pop in during the week, in the morning, speak to a duty manager, there won't be one there. Has any of your management team raised their concerns? Because they must know about me, because I've been to your property several times. Have any of the concerns that I've made been raised with any of you?
We're not. We'll leave that question hanging. We're not doing questions to them, but you can address us.
But I just can't see. It's a residential area. That building is less than 3 metres away from people's bedrooms. It's a listed building, so you can only do so much with it. So you can't soundproof it totally. It's the building's not fit for purpose, unfortunately, for what they want to use it for. You can't soundproof a roof that is made out of glass, single pane glass, because it's listed and it has to be rolled glass. And unfortunately, to the detriment of your business that you try to run, it's not going to help. So you've spent all this money on a building really that isn't fit for purpose for what you want it for. And you spent all that money in literally one of the poorest wards in London for a building that is literally, no one's ever going to use it in the local community, because people are living hand to mouth, and you've got a Michelin-starred restaurant and selling art for thousands of pounds. People can just about afford to pay their rent and put food in their bellies, and you know, and you talk about it's for the local community. It really, really isn't.
You've come to the end of anything you've prepared to say to us, Mr. O'Sullivan?
Well, I haven't really had the chance to, because the only thing that I've prepared is everything I've documented, which I've sent over, and I'm assuming...
We have read everything.
Yeah.
So, I mean, of course, you weren't here at the beginning when I said that we have read everything in the pack, so that includes your objections and the other 4 objections as well that were written. So we will have some questions for you presently.
Yeah, no, but I'm assuming you saw the video as well that I had taken.
Yes, that's Exhibit 4. Yes, we've seen the video, which we understand.
And that is a regular occurrence. And I'm just sick of the broken glass, the drug taking, the noise. It's just getting too much now.
Would it help if we move to our questions now?
Yeah,
like that?
if you like.
Okay. Perhaps I'll start this time then. So, if I could turn to page 51. Have you got the pack in front of you? Page 51.
Oh.
It's the main bundle. So
I've got to 49 here.
It's headed temporary event notices, Ladbroke Hall.
Okay.
Perhaps the could Mr. O'Sullivan have a copy of the main bundle?
No, mine only goes up to 49.
Okay, I think you might not have the right bundle there. So it's the main notice of licensing hearing. Yes, I think. Thank you, Mr. O'Malley. We just want to give you a list of.
Thank you.
So we'll just go to page 51. As it's marked at the bottom.
Yeah. Okay.
So what we've got there is a list of temporary event notices where Ladbroke Hall has been opened beyond its current licence on, I think, 12 different occasions. So 11th of October, 2 o'clock in the morning, 16th of October, 2 o'clock in the morning, 25th of October, 2:30 in the morning, 30th of November till 3 o'clock in the morning, and that encompasses the Halloween event. 6th and 7th of December, 3 o'clock in the morning and 2 o'clock in the morning, 30th of January, 2 o'clock in the morning, and so on. As you can see, that's the list of temporary events. But when I look across at the complaints, we've got, the only complaints we've got about Ladbroke Hall are the, on the previous page, it's the 30th of October, Resident 1, which I think is you, where you've got, this is the Halloween event. And then there's a couple of other complaints in 2024. But yet, none of these other events, when Ladbroke Hall's been open till 3 in the morning, have attracted any complaints. What do you have to say about that?
I haven't got. I don't know if I was at home at the time, so I may have not been at home at the time. So I can't.
Sure. Yes.
I can only talk for the ones that I've complained about. But these other events, I'm not always at home like anybody else.
Yeah.
I've got a social life, so I might be out.
Of course, yes.
So
I mean, appreciate
that might be probably
if you
why I
weren't
haven't
there.
heard it, because I'm out enjoying myself. But,
Well, of
you know,
course.
We're,
So,
we're not like spoil sports. We understand people need to. It's a business. They want it to grow their business, but the effect that it's having on the residents, it's got to be weighed up. And I really do feel that they've showed zero regard.
So on 12 events, you have seen and been inconvenienced by one of them, which was obviously a really bad one because you videoed it, you've seen the video. It was the Halloween event that we've heard quite a lot about, but the other 11 didn't inconvenience.
Not that I can recall of, but I can guarantee you now, I've lost count of the amount of complaints to Argon Hadri, who's the leader of Noise and Nuisance for Kensington and Chelsea, about Ladbroke Grove Hall.
Well,
So-
there are 4 complaints.
I can assure you, I've made a lot more than that, and I've got the emails to prove it.
That's obviously very interesting because we've only got 4 listed here. Maybe Mr. Phelan can investigate that for us as well.
Chair, I can confirm that the data in the report is accurate. There were no further complaints after that date. That's reflective of the complaint history for the previous 24-month period, Chair.
Right, so 7th of June 2024, resident 1, which is you, I think, that was your first one. 16th of June 2024, resident 2, somebody else. 30th of October, which you think is Halloween, resident 1, that's you. 31st of October, Halloween, resident 1, and 2 other people as well. So three complaints from you, they're actually logged in the system.
Okay, so I'm struggling to hear you a little bit.
So 3 complaints logged in you from the system over the last 24 hours. Over the last 24 months. Okay, well I think we'll move on from that because we've explored Halloween. What would you obviously don't like the idea of this place being open till 2 o'clock in the morning. What about an earlier time?
It's the noise. We just don't want to be kept awake by people breaking glasses, taking drugs out, smoking, and the baseline's unbelievable. But there's not a lot they can do about that because of the nature of the building. It's a listed building, and obviously you're not allowed to do, you can only do so much with it. So it's a catch-22, really, because the building's not fit for purpose.
So the current baseline licence is basically 2300 and probably 2330 closure if I... oh no, it's actually 0030. I mean, what would you think about something a little later than that, but not quite as late as 2 o'clock in the morning?
No, it's just not. You can't do that on a weekday. And that Halloween was on a Sunday, and that just on a Sunday, 4 o'clock on a Sunday. And bearing in mind that there's children's bedrooms that back onto their property, and it's just a flagrant disregard. Like, we don't care about you. It screams it. And it wouldn't have even got to this stage if they would have engaged, because I've been over there several times, and they're just not interested. And their staff's not interested. They're rude, their staff, and they're not interested.
Okay, I'm going to move on to the other committee members to see what questions they've got. Councillor Hudd, please.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mr. O'Sullivan. To confirm, are you saying that despite several attempts, you have never met Mr. Zarans?
No.
Never?
Never seen
Have
him.
you met any of their managers?
None of those sitting there I haven't. I've been to Ladbroke Grove Hall several times to speak to somebody, because obviously to address it, but I've never seen these people in question. Right,
okay. My second question, you must have spoken to your neighbours. Are they,
yes, there's others, but then there's others who are too scared. I don't know why they're scared to pipe up and say anything, but they are. They feel intimidated.
Mm-hmm. And I can understand that. I've heard that before. As I said earlier on, some people feel very reluctant to come forward.
When you go past of an evening when they have these events on, it changes the whole look of the entrance to the estate, because all of a sudden they've buried off half the pavement like they own it. They've got security out there like they own the place, almost intimidating the locals. And then once it's all sort of said and done, they then, I know this is going to sound really stupid, but they have a security guard there all night with a dog, double parked outside. Ladbroke Grove Hall, which suggests to me like you don't trust the local community as well. Like we're going to break into your hall, and like, why do you need to have an Alsatian in a car all night outside the building?
Mr. O'Sullivan, on the security, some people might think, differently. They might think that it's providing you extra security as a neighbourhood. But that's, again, that's a matter of opinion.
That dog and he's not picking up after the dog.
No. Okay. Double parking, the antisocial behaviour, that's a valid point. You also talk about that there is sound that emanates from the premises. So you're saying that the soundproofing is not efficient enough?
No, definitely not.
Right, that's interesting because on all the complaints, that's not been one of the complaints. Antisocial behaviour, dispersal policies, all that, but not about the lack of soundproofing. So I'm interested that you said that.
You're more than welcome, and I do say this, you're more than welcome if you like to conduct an experiment. We can come to my house, you can ask them to turn the music on, and we could all have a listen. And you'll see...
We're just working on the evidence presented to us in the committee. We're not doing site visits, so please carry on, Councillor Hunt.
And the antisocial behaviour, you said there's double parking, even for the security guard.
There's double parking for everything. There's double parking for their workers every day. That's why every single pavement outside Ladbroke Grove Hall is smashed.
Okay.
Every single pavement, and I mean every single pavement. It's from your lorries driving over them every day.
Thank you, Mr. O'Sullivan. Thank you, Chair.
But may I add as well, because I've raised these concerns before to Kensington Chelsea Council directly, and you get put through to all these different teams, and none of them liaise with each other, nothing gets done. But when I made this complaint a year ago about that pillar being driven into, and it is literally going to fall over at any moment, and when it does, it will kill someone, that's guaranteed, be warned about it and done nothing about it. And it was because of one of your delivery drivers driven into it. And that's like, it's documented, that's like a year ago now, and nothing's been done.
But that does sound like a planning enforcement matter or not something for licensing, so I'm going to park on that, but you've made the point. Councillor Reason, please.
Yes, Mr. O'Sullivan, you've noted several times that the communication between residents and the business is inadequate. I do note, earlier I did commend the applicant on their communication. What I meant was it seems to be in good faith that you are trying to engage with residents, although I do think there is more that you could do. I think Councillor Hudd referenced having regular meetings and making sure that residents know how to access those meetings. Do you feel that that would help the situation if the licence was to be extended?
Maybe if they would have initiated this when the complaints first started and didn't leave it 2.5 years.
Yeah, and how do you feel it would improve the situation?
Well, I feel it's lip service at the moment, but I'm obviously willing to give it a try. But as I said, I have gone to Ladbroke Grove Hall numerous times to speak to management, and I have not, well, certainly not seen these, and I've not spoken to anyone. And when I have spoken to someone, it's been very blasé. They're not here, come back another time.
One more question, if I may. And your main concern with extending the licence is the noise emanating from the building, which you feel could not be resolved by further soundproofing, not the dispersal conditions?
No, it's everything. It's the noise once the event finishes and they're all hanging around outside drinking, laughing, waiting for Ubers, and the Ubers pull up at 4 o'clock in the morning, bibbing their horns.
Just to return to the issue of noise pollution from inside the building, do you feel that since the hall has installed soundproofing measures that things have improved at all? Have you noticed any difference?
For me personally, no. Other people may have noticed difference, but I don't. But I'm not like a killjoy. Obviously, you can hear people laughing and blah, blah, but that's not a big deal.
Yeah.
It's the baseline, and then when they're coming outside and they're shouting and screaming, and then you've got the Ubers and the double parking.
I will echo what the other councillors have noted, though, which is that the other objectors don't really seem to complain about that particular issue of noise leaking from the building. It is mostly about the dispersal policy. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. Ms Rowland, do you have any questions for the objector? Okay, well, we've come to the end of the... Mr. Phelan, you possibly got an answer for us.
I do. Is now a good time, Chair?
Yes, it is.
Brilliant. So I've received confirmation from the Planning Department. The application was withdrawn on the 28th of May due to outstanding information. The officer who responded is not aware of a current or live application dealing with the variation to condition 10, the hours of operation. Thank you, Chair.
So the application was withdrawn, so pending a possible further submission, but planning wouldn't know that.
Yeah, I can just reiterate that the officer's not aware of a current or live application dealing with that particular aspect of the original application.
Thanks very much. That's probably news for the applicants. I might ask them just to comment.
Yeah, it certainly news to me. Obviously, I'll make inquiries at Savills as to why that is. But it's certainly the case that whatever your decision is, may or may not be today, it couldn't take effect anyway unless the planning were granted. So,
of course, that point's now on the record. Thank you very much. So I think we've finished with the case for the objector. We've dealt with Mr. Phelan's very helpful points. So I'm now going to ask Ms. Rowland to go through the potential conditions. And I will make the point for everybody that this section is now without prejudice to the committee's decision, but it's, as Mr. O'Sullivan would not have heard at the beginning, but I'll repeat it now, this is a matter of convenience, that we're not going to go away and make a decision on the principle and then come back and make you all sit through a discussion on the potential conditions at that point and then go away and make another decision. So we're going to do go through the conditions now at some length. Ms. Rowland will lead that. Hopefully you've got the conditions in front of you on the it's entitled Draft Suggested Conditions, and it should have been put on the desk at the beginning. Yes, excellent. So, Ms. Rowland.
Thank you. So, the existing mandatory conditions and then existing conditions 7 to, I think, 16 haven't been proposed to be amended, but the applicant has suggested an amendment to condition 17, which is to remove the limit of calendar days, which would be necessary if the licence is granted as proposed. There's no comment on that one. In relation to condition 18, it is an amendment so that, again, it marries the new variation, so that the conditions 19 to 23, which is detailed just below, apply after 10 p.m. as opposed to simply when the extension of the licensable hours applies under the non-standard hours. So that again is consistent with the variation.
Can I just mention one point, just if it helps, this just to identify some potential repetition within the conditions. So 22 on regular monitoring, I think you've also, Madam, inserted at 36, a similar condition, proactive noise assessment outside, but that's without time limited. So it seemed to us 22, in fact, addresses what I think 36 was designed to address.
Yes, that's...
Sorry, I couldn't hear that.
That's noted, yes, thank you. I think that does probably address the same point.
And so 22, we would suggest is probably more appropriate, and we could, if the committee were minded, then just strike out 36.
Yes, we'll strike out.
If it helps, I've identified one other, and I can mention those as we're going through, if that helps.
Okay, thank you very much. You've already indicated, there's no comment on 19, which is to do with the amplified sound. You've already identified on condition 20 that you would accept the amendment to that condition.
Yes.
On condition 21, I understand that the strikeout there is because the variation means that it's no longer those 21 is no longer kind of conditioned as to only applying at certain points in time. It applies kind of,
22, after 2200 hours, that's correct.
Sorry, 21, apologies, it applies across the board.
Yes.
So there's no issue with that. And then 22 we've discussed, which is having monitoring.
Yes.
And 23 is noticeable displays respecting the need of local residents.
Yeah.
Which
is 29 also.
Is 29 also. That one is at the moment planned to be time limited under condition, if it's read consistently with condition 18.
So it should be to condition 22 rather than including 23. So 23, I think what you're saying is condition 18 says 19 to 23 applies after 2200 hours, but obviously that makes no sense.
Yeah, so it should
be conditioned up to condition 22, 19 to 22.
Yes, that's what I was going to suggest on that point. Very briefly, whilst we are on the topic of that one is addressing local residents, in light of what has been discussed, and you've indicated you would accept something like a quarterly meeting of accept a meeting of quarterly meetings with local residents. I was wondering if you had the model conditions for the Royal Borough of Kensington and Chelsea in front of you.
I can pull it up. If you have it, it'd be helpful if you could read it out, please.
I can read it out. So there is a model condition number 18, which provides that a dedicated telephone number for the DPS or the duty manager shall be maintained for use by any person who may wish to make a complaint during the operation of the licence, which shall be provided to the licensing authority and local residents association. Any change to the number shall be notified to the licensing authority and to local residents associations within 7 days of change. So that's one potential proposed condition to be added, and then the other one was model condition 21, which is that the licence holder or designated premises supervisor shall organise and accommodate meetings to discuss the operation of the premises with residents at least quarterly or 4 times per calendar year. The details of the proposed meeting shall be clearly displayed on a window or door visible to people outside the premises, and the premises licence holder shall directly notify local residents associations of the meeting date at least 2 weeks before the meeting. The licence holder or designated premises supervisor shall take the minutes of the meeting with residents that shall be circulated to all attendees and the licensing authority, and copies shall be readily available at the premises upon request.
Can we suggest on the website, so rather than window or door, because it's within you'd have to go through the gate to get to the door, so that would be perhaps less visible, as it were.
That seems more suitable for the...
I'm
sorry,
so sorry.
Forgive me, I haven't quite finished. Sorry. I'm happy to wait for Mr. O'Sullivan. I was just going to add one more point, if I may.
Do you want to add one point?
Of course. Yes. And then in relation to the duty, he said residents associations.
Yes.
Just slightly concerned that we may not know all the residents associations. So we're happy to again put that on the website. You happy to put a number on the website?
Well, if there's uncertainty as to the identity of the residents associations, that part of it could be
omitted.
Essentially struck out, such that it was simply on the website.
As long as the licensing authority have the
details.
The details.
Okay.
Thank you.
That would probably address that concern. Mr. Sullivan, did you have a comment on...
I just wanted to ask a quick question, sorry. So, is the entrance and exit on Roots Drive not being used anymore?
We're talking about... So microphones off.
Sorry, is the entrance and exit on Roots Drive, is that still being used? Because obviously that was the entrance to the nightclub before, and obviously the entrance to the restaurant is a totally different entrance.
Well, we're discussing something slightly different at the moment, which is the conditions.
And where they're shown. And she's talking about there being a gate to get to the entrance. Okay, but if it's Roots Drive, there isn't a gate there. It's just straight onto the street. So.
Well, we'll leave that point hanging because it is an important point. But I think what we're talking about is whether the applicant would accept a condition which requires them to have a quarterly meeting with residents. And of course, they won't know all the residents' associations, but they can get the details from the council because there's a council list of approved and known residents' associations. And it seems that they are accepting of that. And is that something you would accept as well as something that a quarterly meeting with?
Yeah, I would, yeah. But as I said, because the way this case has been presented, like the restaurant is not like making any noise. It's the live music and the alcohol that is where the problems are starting. So it's almost like two different venues because the restaurant is at one end of the building and then you've got Roots Drive where all this trouble is starting.
Okay, well, we'll park that point as well. I think the point's been covered, so yes to the quarterly meetings, and we've discussed that. So if you can put your microphone off, please, so we can carry, because we can only have 3 of them on at one time. And then let's go back to Miss
Ms Nashbandi, thank you, sir. Just one point, Ms Rowland, on your, I'm not sure if we'd completed between 23 and 29.
We hadn't, no.
No, we haven't.
Which
no,
one?
we were on 23 and I just went to the residents.
We're about to go to 24.
I was just going to say on 23, I think we'd said that 29 is similar in language, but focused on the smoking area. So 23 is probably broader and covers.
They are targeting slightly different
they
concerns potentially, though, insofar as 23 is really about exits from the premises.
Yeah.
And the smoking area, whilst I appreciate from the image that's been provided,
it's by these exits.
It's by the exit, but it does seem to be a slightly different concern about congregating in an area as opposed to exiting an area.
So the congregation's obviously limited to 10.
But it is limited to 10. I think what I meant by that was that it's about using the area quietly as opposed to exiting the area and respecting residents.
Would it help, just so there's not 2 conditions on notices, just to add in the words to displayed at exits and in the smoking area into 23? Just so for clarity,
yeah,
notices is all in one place, as it were.
Yes, we can add that and then strike out 29.
Is that right? Thank you.
So 24 was the suggested dispersal and external management plan, which has been agreed.
It has.
And then condition 25 was the third-party entertainment, and I have pulled up the City of
You have, thank you.
London's model condition, and that one it's already been read out twice, I believe. Is about having no third-party promoted, or no promoted events where promoted events is defined. I'm just seeing if I can find it just now. Promoted events will not be held at the premises. A promoted event is an event where the musical entertainment is provided at any time by a disc jockey or disc jockeys, one or some of whom are not employees of the licence holder, and the event is promoted to the general public independent of the licensee. I think that probably does address that point as to promoted events, and so it would be a replacement of 25 or current 25.
Yes.
That takes us to condition 26, and I think you'll see on here that I had some concerns about the precision of this one, and that's slightly compounded by the risk that this planning application has been withdrawn. And I think that concern slightly arises from an uncertainty as to when the planning permission would be granted, and therefore when the licence would take effect, and that having difficulties for then the licensing authority to know what license is in operation at a relevant time, and also that it's essentially delaying the coming into effect of a license, and so the impacts of an activity might change. If, for example, planning permission isn't granted until a year's time, the impacts of the proposed license might be different in a year's time, and so really it's granting a future license.
I mean, the reality of it is the premises won't operate until the licence comes into effect, until the planning permission comes into effect.
I mean, I understand that point. I think it's about trying to ensure some certainty, and so I was wondering about whether or not, rather than having it not coming into effect until the planning permission comes into effect, whether it's saying that the licence will come into effect in 6 months' time.
I just have a moment. Forgive me, Chair. Ms. Rowland, can you just, you were about to give a suggestion. Could you just repeat that, please?
The suggestion for certainty was to say that the licence will come into effect in either 6 months' time or 9 months' time.
All right. Could we suggest 4 months?
4 months?
That gives you more certainty, as it were. So that would be,
so
actually, what are we on? July,
if it's the 2nd of July...
2nd of November. Well, it depends on when it's if it's granted and when. But could we say 4 months?
So approximately October, and it would be in effect for 1 year from
Yes.
October. That would be a more certain solution, certainly.
Sorry, did you say October? Did you say
we said 4 months.
So that would be the
2nd of November.
Oh, November.
Well, if it's or whatever date the committee makes a decision.
Would you like it from the full reason decision, when the full reason determination comes out, or if we assume, this is of course assuming we grant it, but...
Hadn't thought about the minutiae. Can I just have a moment, please? We're content for 4 months for today, and I hope that makes it just simpler for the committee.
Thank you very much.
That takes us to condition 27, which is about the smoking area, and I realised that I think the suggested amendments includes licence plans, which we don't have, I think, in association with the application, the exact licence plan of where the smoking
Sorry,
area.
I can't quite hear.
It included a suggestion of a licence plan for the smoking area, but there isn't a licence plan actually, and so potentially a revision just saying there is a designated smoking area.
Yes, please.
Would work.
So just a full stop after smoking on line 1.
Yes.
Thank you.
And then condition 28 was suggested by the applicant.
Yes.
There was no comments on that one. Condition 29 we've struck out.
Yes.
Condition 30 is taxi patrons waiting for taxis, and that aligns with your cab management plan. 31, I had no comments on.
Can I just pause on 31, if I may? Just going back to, I was just doing a review of these yesterday, going back to 22. So 31 is member of staff shall monitor at the end of night to ensure. 22 is regular monitoring outside the area during all events, and then reflects the dispersal policy. And then 36 of your suggestion is the noise assessment carrying out at least once a year, once an hour. And I thought that 22 perhaps would cover it if you wanted then to include at the end of regular monitoring outside area conducted by the duty manager during all events, and then to encompass your 31 and at the end of the night. That should, I think, address 31 and 36.
Are you able to repeat that suggestion
for me?
Sorry
about that. Sorry. Let me start again. So I was trying to reconcile 22, 31 and 36. And my suggestion was that 22, you add to the end of the first sentence, during all events and at the end of the event. And then that addresses the period of time and monitoring.
Give me 1 second.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, so that addresses 31.
Yeah, 36
Yes,
is the same point about duty manager, regular monitoring. Just from a practical perspective, saying at least once an hour, sometimes difficult to identify what that is, not always at the o'clock, as it were.
Yes.
I mean, my understanding is that the purpose for us suggesting that condition and the purpose that you put it forward is to monitor any potential for any disturbance outside the premises. That's the ethos of it. It seemed to us that 22 would cover that during the currency of the event and at the end of the event.
Sorry. Yes, I was just looking at 22 then, and potentially after it says regular, so at the moment it says a regular monitoring of the outside area.
Yes.
And obviously the second sentence refers to the dispersal policy, but perhaps to make sure that that is clear, that includes the outside area of the premises itself, such as the smoking area, and it includes outside the front of the premises. So we amend that language that says regular monitoring of the outside area, including outside the front of the premises.
Or just regular monitoring outside? Outside the premises, right, rather than outside area. I understand your point.
Yes.
You might suggest just the immediate, or if you just said outside the premises.
Yes, that would probably work
Would that be better?
And that covers all of it.
Yes.
Okay, so then we would strike 31 and
Yes.
strike 36.
And 36.
Which would require potential tweaking of 37, which was external noise assessments.
Well, that's already covered within the 22 monitoring, essentially. Within the monitoring is the purpose of the monitoring
Yes,
being
so
the same.
we could,
Just wondering whether it was necessary for there to be a record of remedial actions, etc., kept. It was necessary. If there was a necessity to have that 37 as well. There's also a log of complaints kept.
yes, and I mean potentially the log would capture that under 35
Yeah.
if that was
It says
It
any
therefore
complaints
includes
received,
the noise
incidents,
complaints.
etc. So perhaps 37
Seven.
could be struck out.
and it can go under 35.
Yeah.
Going back then to 32 was the door supervisors, and I included the model condition here.
We're content with the model condition.
Condition 33 was as a result of concern
Content.
of litter. So content. 34.
Content. Yep. Content.
35 was the incident log.
Content.
36 and 37 we've struck out.
Yes.
38 is to address noise.
So the main doors, there are the wooden doors that you see, and then there is an acoustic, there's a lobby in between.
Mm-hmm.
So those main wooden doors, I don't think they have self-closers. Yeah, they're part of the listing, I
Okay, so
understand.
it wouldn't actually be possible.
Don't think this is possible. But there is already a lobby door within that front door and a curtain. So we would suggest that that's not going to be possible to have the self-closers.
So the main door isn't the only door that there's been reference to in relation to noise escaping.
Yes.
The other external facing doors,
So
they have capacity to have self-closing devices?
I mean, it's the door that was the concern that was raised during Halloween, for example, of people gathering, was the door on Roots Drive. It's not used as the common entrance and exit, but obviously it is used for deliveries. But I think does that have a self-closer?
Yeah.
So happy for the door on Roots Drive, being the only other main door. Is there another exit down to the building?
No.
What about from the car park?
Car park, that's the only for the customers, not for customers.
Does it have a self-closing device on it? It does?
Yeah.
So my understanding is the door on Roots Drive has a self-closer already.
Would you be content for us to have a condition that had the external door facing Roots Drive to have a self-closing?
Yep.
So if that was amended to the external door facing Roots Drive shall be fitted with a self-closing device.
Yeah.
Condition 39.
I'm happy with that.
Condition 40.
Agreed.
Condition 41, though this may actually be caught by point 7 under condition 35.
Yeah, I think that's within there. It's got point 7, isn't it, refusal?
Yes, and so that one can probably be
So that can be taken out.
taken out. And then 42,
Check the refusal book once a month. That's fine.
43,
So I think we're trying to understand the basis for 43 and whether that is necessary given what the committee has heard.
I think the concern of this one was potentially the promoted events condition would remedy the concern about essentially the venue being turned into a nightclub with people coming and going late at night.
Yeah. So given we have the promoted events condition, it didn't seem to us that this would be necessary.
I think we'd be happy then to strike that one
Thank you.
out.
Happy with 44.
45.
Yeah, happy with 45.
46.
We just wondered whether 46 was necessary, given you've got the monitoring condition and there are the SIA on the relevant times. We needed another presence.
Just.
And there is there will be an agreed dispersal policy as well. It's part of the...
I mean, there has been quite a lot of discussion about making sure that taxis and the dispersal is not causing noise, and having a dedicated person to that would fall within making sure that having a dedicated person who is managing traffic outside during the point in time when vehicles are outside does seem to be necessary. I understand there is a proposal to have a dispersal plan, but this would ensure that there was someone at any time there was a late night, essentially, event.
I think what I was trying to say was that because at 24 the plan has to be submitted and incorporates any recommendations of the authority, police and EHO, that once that has been submitted, if that was something that were the recommendation of those responsible authorities, then it would be included. So rather than being separate, because what I'm trying to say, it's all caught within recommendations following a proposal.
I understand the point there, yes. Okay, that one then could be struck out.
Thank you. Happy with 47.
47.
Happy with 48.
48, yes, is a model condition on the sale of alcohol. And 49.
49, happy with 49. Thank you very much for those suggestions. They're very helpful.
Right, I think we're done there. Is there any final legal advice, Ms. Rowland, from you?
No.
Thanks very much. Mr. Phelan, anything, any last points from you?
Nothing from licensing. Thanks for the opportunity, Chair.
Has anything come up from governance while we've been sitting?
Nothing from us, thanks, Chair.
Thanks very much. Well, that does conclude the hearing. Thank you all very much for attending and giving us your time this morning. The committee will retire to make our decision. We'll issue the summary determination within the next 5 working days, and the full determination will follow. And it's only when the full determination, written determination, is issued that any appeal period starts. So that's the end of the hearing today. Meeting's closed and the broadcast will end.
Thank you very much, Chair, and thank you to your colleagues.
Thank you.